Hello everyone, welcome to the channel of MeteoMark Weather. It's great to have you here with me today. We're going to be talking about a major winter storm pattern that's going to be taking shape from parts of the deep south all the way up into parts of the eastern part of the country here into eastern North America. We're going to see which areas could see the greatest risk of heavy snow and ice over the next couple of weeks. Snowfall amounts will be on the rise as we head into parts of the plains deep south all the way into eastern part of North America as the snow really piles up through the end of January. And a very tropical and moist weather pattern continues, very unusual for this time of year across the Caribbean. We'll look and see if some of these cold fronts could make it through later into January. Let's get into it. Little sneak peek through the rest of the video. The European model is going crazy with snowfall amounts, even into parts of the deep south. We're going to check and see if some of these storms could verify, because this gets some tremendous snowfall totals into parts of the south as well. And starting with our future radar here, we're watching two systems, one along the Gulf Coast that's going to be producing shower and thunderstorm activity from Louisiana all the way over to the Florida area that's going to continue through early Monday into Tuesday. You can see that clearing South Florida. Now look it up here into the northeast. We're looking into the Ohio Valley, eastern Great Lakes, area of snow moving through Sunday evening, places like Cleveland, Toledo, Erie, Buffalo, the first surge and then a second surge. We may see up to a half an inch to an inch quick accumulation here through 8 a.m. on Monday morning. And then the lake effect really starts to kick in. You see these bands developing from west to east off of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. Erie, Pennsylvania is going to be the bullseye here as the area north of Syracuse and south of Buffalo as well. So taking a look at our synoptic GFS model as we picking up where our future radar left off. You can see as we head on into Tuesday, we have those lake effect snow showers. That is going to be the rule. We'll go over those snowfall amounts momentarily as we head on into Wednesday as well. Cleveland up to Erie, southern suburbs of Buffalo, and even up towards Syracuse here. But watch this high pressure system build in. As we head throughout the 16th into the 17th, we do still have on the northeast periphery of this high lake effect continuing. But here, look at South Florida getting clipped with some precipitation down here in the form of rain, obviously. High pressure really starts to build along the U.S. East Coast as we head through Friday here. So we get a southerly flow. That's going to bring those temperatures up as we go in time. Now, here's where things really get interesting. Look at this on the 18th. The northern periphery of this storm system, that's where the cold air is going to be locked in with this high pressure over North Dakota and Manitoba up here into Canada. So watch out, because Cleveland, Toledo, down to Kansas City, and even up to Buffalo, we could start out as some snowfall here into next Saturday. And watch how this propagates to the east. That rain snow line is moving right along Indianapolis, all the way just north of Columbus, north of Pittsburgh, and along Interstate 80 in Pennsylvania into New Jersey here. So north of that line, you stand the chance of seeing the highest snowfall accumulation. It doesn't look like there's a lot of ice with this system, so that's the good news. So if you're north of that line here on our GFS model, that is what we're looking at for potential heading on into the 19th. You see on the back side of this system. So we're going to have a couple waves of low pressure right out along it. So Cleveland area, Toledo, up to Erie and Buffalo, we could be looking at these snowfall totals. We do get into the rainfall here into the I-81 corridor of New York and Pennsylvania, and eventually eroding that cold air in southern parts of New England as we head on into 7 p.m. on Sunday. So yeah, things get interesting. Look at South Florida too. You're getting clipped here with that amount. Now, many of you across the south said with this next system, are you going to see any wintry precipitation? Well, on the GFS, it doesn't look like it here. In fact, you may see some thunderstorms all the way up through parts of Georgia here. So watch out for that rainfall into parts of Harrisburg. And then look at that. Yeah, two pieces of energy up here into the northeast. Here it is on the 19th again. Buffalo remains all snow up to Watertown, New York. And that pulls out the 20th as this really strengthens all the way up here into parts of the Canadian Maritimes, taking all that moisture with it. And the lake effect really kicks in behind it here on the 20th into the 21st. And we also have to watch for a potential spin up here off the U.S. East Coast, right around the Outer Banks. This model run of the GFS takes it out to sea, but then we do have another system trying to develop through parts of the Gulf Coast, and there seems to be some sort of connection. You can see the bend in the isobars here to this northern low. There's going to be another Arctic blast surge with some moisture coming up from the Gulf as we head on into the 23rd, into the 24th. So watch out. This version of the model run doesn't show any phasing, but as you can see, through the 27th into the 28th, this could be a massive ice storm for parts of the east with a big heavy snowstorm on the northern periphery. So big wintry times are ahead. So I wanted to show you the run on the European here on our surface map because you can see this much better on the Euro on this product. So as we head towards the 18th into the 19th, this is comparing it to the GFS that I just showed you here. Look at this. So heavy rain and storms through parts of the deep south. So yeah, at this point, this storm does not look like wintry for the south. However, the northern periphery, the European model does have some snowfall on the northern periphery, although it doesn't look tremendously heavy. But the interior parts of New York, Pennsylvania, eastern Ohio could get clipped with this. So there it is, remains more progressive. But watch out, a piece of energy remains behind it. And the European now going coastal with the next system beyond that. So here it is, heavy snow through parts of Maryland, northern Virginia, all the way through western Pennsylvania, western New York, maybe even eastern Ohio here. But look at this, New England snowstorm pulling up here Monday the 20th. So really these coastals could really get cranking here through parts of the East Coast. And then let's go beyond that. This is that storm, that southern snowstorm and ice storm that could really get cranking here. Let's just back this up. If this verifies, this is through the 21st. Look at this. This would bring the rain-snow line dangerously close to the Gulf Coast here and tremendous snowfall totals just to the north because even though this is a 10, 12 millibar low, this has some tremendous tropical moisture to work with here. And as we go further out in time, watch this. Yeah, thankfully it is a fast mover here, but look at this. Crippling snow and ice through parts of Georgia, the Carolinas, and then pulling up the coast. So even though this is not terribly deep low pressure system, it has tremendous moisture. Look what's on the northern periphery of this, though. A 1040 millibar high pressure system. Look at these isobars on the northern side of this. I would not be surprised if this does verify that we see some blizzard conditions into parts of these darker blue zones. So watch out. This is something we need to watch. We have some time to watch it because it's nearly 8 to 10 days out. So I caution you, this run of the European has this sliding out to sea to not affecting the Northeast, but previous model runs had it moving right up the coast. So please watch out. And we're going to start lining these systems up because look at South Texas here. We do get another flare-up of another type system. So parts of the deep south could really be getting into snowfall here. This one's a bit further to the north, though, here through the 26th into the 27th. This one moving up through the spine of the Appalachians, bringing rainfall up into the mid-Atlantic. And look at this, puts Ohio, interior Pennsylvania, and New York into that heavy snow pattern. And just flipping over to the GFS, let's just take a look here. There's that system on next Saturday into Sunday. There's that northern periphery, that snowfall, and then, of course, the south. Would not be surprised if we get severe thunderstorms in parts of Georgia and the Florida Panhandle here. And look at that. Low pressure riding up through the eastern Great Lakes, keeping Ohio mostly into that heavy snow. Look at that. That 982 millibar low, you know the winds are going to be howling, and the lake effect and lake enhance kick in behind it here. Now let's just go out a little bit further. Here the GFS, not going very crazy with this system like the European does. It mainly forms and heads right out to sea really quickly. So this is something to really watch. Let's just go a little bit further out on the GFS. You can see there's that system as we head through the 28th, another Appalachian spine run here. And getting over to snowfall mounts here nationally, look at this. Yeah, the lake effect piling up really readily here. And then as we head through next weekend, you can see the European still showing some sort of interior snowstorm into parts of the Northeast. We'll have to keep an eye on it here right around, watch this, it's Saturday night. Actually, it's Sunday, later Sunday into early Monday next week. That's when things get interesting. And look at this. Wow, this run of the European model going crazy with a massive crippling snowstorm from eastern and central Texas all the way over to North Georgia and the Carolinas. Look at some of these amounts. 24 inches through parts of central North Carolina. And then look at that, 12 to 18 inches through parts of eastern Texas and Louisiana. Not to say this is going to happen, but this is really interesting that we're starting to see these systems line up, especially out here onto the longer middle range. And comparing that to the GFS, look at this is insane. Here across parts of the Northeast into parts of the Ohio Valley, eastern Great Lakes. Here is the GFS on Sunday through parts of the Ohio Valley. Look at northern Ohio into western New York, northern Indiana. Look at that. So yeah, this is that northern system I was telling you about. Some areas could be, if this verifies, we could be seeing some areas above a foot of snow through parts of the northern Ohio Valley, especially the eastern Great Lakes, into parts of the interior Northeast, and then all the way up into Canada. We just add on top of that as we head through Tuesday the 28th. Look at that. We're going to get some systems that really, of course, the GFS further north with this next system. Beyond that, the European was down and through parts of the deep south. So looking at those snowfall amounts here across the southeast, look at this. Yeah, nothing through the 23rd. It's the GFS keeping pretty much everything clear with the exception for Arkansas up here. Now, comparing that to the European run, look, there it is. So this would be right around the 21st, 22nd into the 23rd. Look at this. Yeah, this would bring rain snow line dangerously south here. Look at parts of central Louisiana up towards a foot or more. Atlanta, Georgia, 18 inches. You know, take this with a grain of salt, but it is interesting to see the flux of the cold air this far south meeting up with moisture. This is what it could potentially lead to. Going into parts of the deep south here, the plains. There we go. There's that system, the 21st into the 22nd. This would bring some of very significant totals very close to Houston here, especially just north of Houston on the order of 6 to 12 inches. Mid-Atlantic region, let's take a look. That's mostly lake effect this week. As we head through the following week, there's that interior snowstorm next Sunday and Monday through parts of the Appalachians all the way up into parts of Pennsylvania, New York State, northeastern Ohio here, beyond 6 inches. So that's interesting. And there's that southern system. Look at that. I would happen to think that if this does verify that many areas condition-wise will go into blizzard mode here through parts of the mid-Atlantic and the southeast. And let's go up into parts of the northeast here. There's the lake effect this week. Yeah, piling up Erie, Pennsylvania, especially northeast of Cleveland here. Cleveland itself stays around 2 to 3 inches throughout the week here on our European run. But look at this. Yeah, throughout the week, Syracuse, 7 inches. Erie, a foot or more. Especially south of Buffalo, that's where you're getting into 1 to 2 feet. Tug Hill, upwards of 2 to 3 feet. But look at next Sunday into Monday. Yeah, this is with that response of the next system. This would bring almost warning criteria snows into parts of northern New Jersey and all the way up into New England here. Look at Binghamton to the Catskills, Scranton area, the Poconos, all the way to western Pennsylvania, northeast Ohio. This would be warning criteria of 6 inches or more, so we'll have to watch out. We could have a snowstorm developing later next weekend into early next week. And then look at this. That next system riding up the coast and bringing southern New Jersey 6 to 9 inches of snow here. So, and then we just go a little bit beyond that. Another system riding up. So the European going crazy with these snowstorms, whereas the GFS is a little bit more tepid here, but you get the idea. We could be looking at several snowstorms, winter storm action here. And let's take a look at the Ohio Valley here for snowfall amounts. As we head through next weekend, yeah, it does get a little bit interesting here, mainly from Indiana to Ohio, a couple inches. And most of what the European does is keep this area drier. But let's take a look at the GFS. So here we go. Next weekend into early the following week. This would be much more interesting for parts of Illinois, Missouri, Indiana, and Ohio. Look at this. Upwards of 6 to 12. Locally higher through parts of northern Ohio here. And then as we go beyond that, we just keep piling on. The GFS stays much further to the north than the European model, keeping areas from the northern Mississippi Valley northeastward to the northern Ohio parts very, very, very snowy. Going just a little bit to the north here, you get the idea. Southern Michigan really getting targeted by some of these storms on the GFS model. Liquid equivalent precipitation amounts here on the European run. Very quiet week, just like on the GFS. It's later on, middle to latter part of next weekend into the following week. That's when things become a lot more moist coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. Look at all the way up to North Carolina here. 2 to as much as 4 inches of liquid equivalent, upwards of 5 to 7 inches through parts of the Florida Panhandle, South Georgia, and off the Carolina coastline here. Even into the Northeast, some of this northern branch will likely be frozen. Our liquid equivalent precipitation amounts here on our GFS model. Yeah, this week is pretty quiet with the exception. Let's get that out of the way for the Gulf Coast. We'll see a couple inches on average, 3/4 to up to 2.5 inches with some tropical moisture here. Around the lakes, they have that upper level low, some short waves moving through lake effect in most of these areas. And then look at this as we head into later next weekend, into early the following week. Look at this precipitation. This is associated with our big storm across the Ohio Valley into the eastern Great Lakes. And some of this could actually be in the form of snow. And then we get another bigger storm towards the end of the month, right around the 28th. Watch out. These storms are really going to come out of the Gulf of Mexico. And before we continue with more winter weather coverage and tropical weather coverage, don't forget, if you made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I'd love to read your questions or comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe bell notification button so you're alerted with all my future weather video updates. And my winter outlook for 2024-2025 season is in the link in the description down below and at the end of this video. So be sure to check that out if you haven't already. Let's continue. Our upper air pattern for North America here on our European run. Look at this. As we head into Wednesday, the 15th, that trough pushing off the coast, reinforcing with another one behind it here through the rest of the week. We do get ridging into the first part of this next weekend, but look what's coming behind it. This is what I was talking about, the much advertised massive ridge into the Gulf of Alaska. That helps promote a massive trough across the east. Now, it doesn't go fully negatively tilted here, so the threat of a massive storm looks like it's on the decrease, but the European keeping some very strong areas of low pressure here across eastern North America. And any one of these, especially the one right around the 25th, 26th region behind it, on the east side of this, right around the 22nd, 23rd, look at this, into the 26th. This is where we could see some major storm action across eastern North America. And if we flip over to our GFS run, very similar picture here as we head throughout this week. It's a little quiet week, but look at this. There it is, Monday the 20th, the 21st. That massive trough just kicking in across the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and pinwheeling up through parts of the northeast New England states through the 23rd into the 24th. And we keep having those systems until the GFS goes a little bit ridging as we head through the 28th. But I caution you, look at this. Cutoff low through parts of the deep south signifies colder air and more wintry precipitation further south here. And of course, we'll head further out into February here. I know this model isn't the most accurate, but it gives us a little bit of a big picture. As we head into February, look at this. It almost looks like a firecracker inferno ridge starts to kick in across eastern North America. But I caution you, because that looks like it may be a little short-lived as we get some troughiness kicking in. We do get more systems out on the west coast according to this run, but things do start to get stormy once again throughout the middle of February with both coasts. And look at this. Yeah, this is signifying that we may have that trough really start to solidify once again mid to late February. And looking at our NAO index, yes, it is negative now, but as we go through the end of the month, look at how it turns positive here. However, yes, a positive NAO index usually means that we're going to see less troughiness across eastern North America and a warming trend. However, that doesn't seem to be happening because we have other factors at work as well. And looking at our MJO index, yes, we are in phase 1 now officially. As we head through the end of January into February, we propagate into phase 2 and eventually phase 3, which, as you know, becomes more neutral in time. So it's not as prevalent as a massive, East Coast trough and cold, record cold and higher precipitation amounts. However, one thing to note, it's not as quiet as it is in, say, phases 4, 5, and up to 6. So that's one thing we got to keep a lookout here. Even though we have NAO going positive, we have MJO transitioning from phase 1 to 2 and eventually 3. We still have other factors at work like the positive ridge that will be developing all the way up the west coast of the North America into the Gulf of Alaska. So if we look at our mesoscale model here over the next couple days for the wildfire situation in California, it's just looking really grim. The only good news is after Sunday here, we get into Monday, those winds slacken up. But look at, as we head throughout the rest of Sunday, you could get wind gusts over 40 to 60 miles an hour here in some of these passes heading just north and east of Los Angeles here. But look at that. They slacken off overnight, but then we get another bigger event as we head on into later Monday here and on into the day on Tuesday. So we're going to watch for a tremendous, let's get that out of the way, lots of wind. Some of these winds could approach 70 miles an hour in some of these passes as this east-northeasterly Santa Ana wind really kicks in through midweek. All right, to all my Caribbean and Central American viewers here, let's take a look. I know some of you said you need some rain because it's so warm and hot as of late. You haven't really seen many cold fronts. It's very unusual for this time of year. Also, we're going to see if how much tropical moisture could fall here as we head throughout the 14th, the 15th. You can see we do start to see some moistening here across parts of the Lesser Antilles all the way up through Puerto Rico. Those east-northeasterly winds here. Jamaica's interesting because it's mainly northeastern Jamaica getting these showers. But look at Central America. You're pretty clear until you get down to Costa Rica and Panama as we head through midweek. And then we really start to moisten things up as we head in time. Look at Florida up here, though, through the northern Bahamas. That's where you're getting these northern branch storms tapping into some tropical moisture from the south here. Central America, for the most part, looks drier this week. It's the following week where things really start to crank up. Here on the 17th into the 18th, you can see these showers pivoting through parts of Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, but things really get cranking through Panama here and Costa Rica. And then watch this, right around the 19th. This may be the cold front to make it down into parts of the Caribbean. Take a look at this. So as we head through the 20th, the 21st, into the 22nd, you do start to see a moistening here of the flow. Northern Honduras, especially that northern coastline through Belize, that's where we're going to start to pile up the rainfall. Because not only do we have this front moving in from the north, we're going to tap into that tropical moisture from both the Caribbean and the eastern Pacific Ocean here. So watch out. Northern Bahamas, you're getting clipped with this cold front, but it looks like it clears most of Florida by the 22nd into the 23rd. And it kind of makes it down and through parts of Belize, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica. You're still holding on to this unusually warm tropical air mass here. So we're going to keep an eye on it for you here. This run of the GFS really doesn't have that front making it too far to the south. But watch out. We do have a tropical wave flaring up here along the north coast of Colombia. That's going to bring some heavy rain through parts of Panama and Costa Rica here. And look at this. This next front, we're going to watch towards the end of the month. This may be the one to push all the way through the Caribbean. We'll see. So looking at the European run here, comparing it to our GFS. As we go out here in time, yeah, we start off really quiet here. The only showers we have are between Honduras and Jamaica here. Most areas remaining dry, at least through the first part of this week. We will have those areas that get showers, however. This is a much more quiet week as high pressure is mainly in control across parts of the north and central part of the Caribbean. Now, we do start to moisten things up here right around the 14th, especially around Belize, Honduras, the Yucatan Peninsula. So watch out. That pattern becomes a little bit more of a moist flow pattern. But it's not heavy. You have to start to get into some of these green colors to get heavy. We're just into the lighter grays here, which is some, it allows you to dry out a little bit. But I know you're in a much warmer, humid air mass than you normally would be this time of year. It's been a very strange winter through parts of the Caribbean. But look at by the 17th here, we really start to moisten things up. The flow pattern becomes much more favorable as we head through the 18th here. So let's take a look at the GFS mid-layer and moist air analysis. This week's pretty dry. Yeah, you can see where all the moisture's at. It's up here across parts of the Gulf of Mexico. And look at this. We do start to get that moist flow towards the 18th into the 19th here across the southern Caribbean. And there it is towards Honduras, Belize, down and through Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. So you're going to really start to moisten it up around the 22nd here through Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, all the way up through Haiti and the Bahamas. Watch out. Wetter times are ahead in the third week of January here. Look at this. Yeah, this does not look like later January. One thing to note is this almost looks like, frontal boundary. So yeah, it is going to move some of the drier air in from the northwest. And I know many of you have said that you're still in that tropical moist pattern. As we go through the 28th, look at this. It actually does get some drier air ahead in parts of the Cayman Islands and Jamaica and down through Honduras and Belize. So for our GFS model here is liquid equivalent precipitation amounts. Many of you have informed me that you do need the rain here. Some areas get baking hot because we haven't had a cold front move through the Caribbean like we did obviously in previous years, where it's normal for this time of year to get some cooler, drier conditions. But look at this. We had all the way through the end of the month here through the 28th. We do see some rain all the way up from Costa Rica, Nicaragua, all the way the northern coast of Honduras here in Belize. Many of these areas propagating above 200 to close to 300 millimeters in some areas here. Northeastern Jamaica up towards 100 to 125 millimeters, especially around Portland Parish and surrounding parishes. Over towards Dominican Republic, we exceed 100 to 150 millimeters of rainfall. Also, the eastern tip of Puerto Rico could be approaching 200 millimeters on the order of 5 to as much as 8 inches. As we propagate into the eastern part of the Caribbean, over the next week, it does look quiet, but we do start to get more showers come the 20th. All the way through the 28th. Look at this. These northeasterly winds squeezing out the moisture here, especially on the eastern and northern coastlines here, where we could approach 100 to as much as 150 millimeters, even up towards the Bahamas here. Some of these areas approaching 100 millimeters, upwards of 3.5, 4 inches of rain. If we take a look at the European run, this takes us through the 19th, all the way through this week. There it is, the Lesser Antilles, Trinidad, Tobago, all the way up to the Virgin Islands here. We could be looking at 35 to as much as 45 millimeters of rain, right around a half an inch on average. And moving through the Western Caribbean for our European run, there it is. It is a drier week. I know a lot of you said you need the rain. However, here's the problem. The following week, we really moisten things up. So this is a drier week. We're averaging about 45 millimeters on average throughout most areas. Canadian weather winter storm outlook here starts off pretty quiet, with the exception for an Alberta clipper, very weak across southern Ontario and Quebec as we head throughout the rest of Sunday into your Monday. The west coast getting pummeled with valley rain, mountain snow here. We do have some snow showers through parts of Nova Scotia, Newfoundland here, but that's about it. Big low over Hudson Bay here. Now watch as we head throughout the rest of the week here through the 15th, the 16th. We do have an Alberta clipper, southwestern Ontario and Manitoba getting hit with some snow showers here, maybe a couple centimeters. But look at this. This next boundary here across parts of the United States, that hitting up towards the St. Lawrence Valley, and that could bring very heavy snow to parts of London, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, and stretching all the way up to Quebec City here. So watch out. We could be looking at some heavy snow moving up through next weekend, and then behind it, tremendous wind. Look at these isobars really tightly packed together here, signifying a tremendous backflow behind this system. And then it gets really quiet for a little while here through the 21st, all the way through the 23rd, 24th, 25th. It's just the west coast getting hit as central and eastern Canada build in with maximum high pressure systems here. And then look at that. As we head through the 28th, we do get some big Alberta clippers moving through central provinces. And liquid equivalent precipitation amounts here into Canada. Look at this. It's both coastlines for the most part. Central provinces here won't see too much, maybe a few Alberta clippers, but look at both coastlines here. This is where we're lining up those Pacific systems and some coastal systems along, parts of the southeast coast of Canada here, particularly from southern Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island over to Newfoundland here in the Canadian Maritimes. This is where you'll see 45 to as much as 90 millimeters of liquid equivalent, much of this falling in the form of snow. So you're getting up towards about an inch or two on average. The West Coast, that's where you're getting pummeled with over 200 millimeters of precipitation. As we take a look at snowfall amounts here into parts of Canada, let's just roll this along here. Wow. Both coasts, again, look at getting walloped out west here, obviously above 100 centimeters in many of these higher elevations. But look at southeast Canada here from southern Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland here, all the way up through the Canadian Maritimes. I think over the next 2 weeks, you could see between 15 and 40 centimeters of snow with locally higher amounts, because some areas could be looking at 1 to 2 feet of snow. Western Pacific here, let's see what's going on. We actually don't have a whole lot going on, with the exception for a few waves here. You can kind of pick them out here across parts of eastern parts of Vietnam. There's another one south of the Philippines, but look at, for the most part, with the exception for the northern Philippines where you're getting some showers with the stalled front, look at it. We're in the cold season up here across eastern China, from Shanghai all the way up to Seoul, South Korea, Tokyo, Japan. So we're seeing a lot more snow shower action up here, but it's here across the southwestern parts of the Pacific. That's where we're going to see those showers continue, but most of these tropical waves should be heading through just south of the Philippines. So you're getting a nice drying trend here through the 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd. And look at that. Even through the end of the month, we do pivot some showers here into the southern Philippines. But look at this. There's a front moving through the northern Philippines here. And look at equivalent precipitation here into the western Pacific. It does start to moisten up towards the end of the month, right around the 28th. You can see a lot of this just south of the Philippines. Part of the northeast Philippine coastline here, you could get upwards of 200 to 300 millimeters. But most areas trailing off here a bit as we see some drier conditions over the next week and a half. And before we continue with more weather coverage, check out these amazing, awesome maps from my affiliate here.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease, or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
So taking a look at our temperatures this week, it's going to feature this cold air Arctic blast as a piece of the polar vortex breaks off. Single digits and teens in the upper Midwest here. We're holding on to some 30s here into the Northeast, but watch how quickly those fade. Look at that. The Ohio Valley. Parts of you won't get to see 20 degrees on Tuesday. Look at that. Pivots to the east as we head throughout the week. Wednesday, January 15th here. Teens all the way down to northern Kentucky and West Virginia, and 20s throughout parts of the Northeast all the way to the coast. And then look at Thursday. We're holding on to that colder air, but a warming trend starts to ensue here across the southern plains. We'll see highs in the 50s and 60s. And watch this as we blossom towards Friday here, January 17th. You can see, yeah, Northeast still holding on to some 30s up here, but looking, you can already see the next pivot point for this cold air blasting across the plains, and I expect this to be a bigger surge as we head on into the third week of January. The extended forecast from our hometown viewers, being into this Grand Upper Susquehanna, River Valley of New York and Pennsylvania. As we go through Monday through Friday here, you can see we do have that chance of snow showers on Monday. Winds will be kicking up to 25, 30 mile per hour gusts. As that front moves in, we'll see Tuesday blustery conditions as highs struggle to reach 20, and to Tuesday night and Wednesday, a chance of lake effect snow showers, really cold, right around 20 degrees. And then by Friday, we start to see a warming trend towards the low 30s.